Joining us now from Chicago is Dan Burke, Chief Options Strategist and Commodities Futures Trading at Walsh Trading. Thank you very much for joining us on Biz Asia America. And this is controversial. What happened in Washington about this controlling of prices? Tell us, how did we get here?
Well, you know, when you give a bank, a commercial bank who's involved in the delivery of price and is also involved in the supply chain, so they're involved in the supply facilities of these products, and so the worry is that there's manipulation or price controlling going on.
Let me read you one of the accusations on Goldman Sachs controlling aluminum prices. People are accusing them of holding vast backlogs of aluminum that have been built up and they are hiding in different parts of Detroit. I mean, a normal person probably wouldn't believe any of this, but in this day and age, I'm trying to keep an open mind. Is this even possible that a big bank like Goldman Sachs could be doing this?
It is possible. I don't think that they're manipulating by any means. You know, what they're doing, though, is not an efficient job of supply facilitating. So when you have higher costs in supply facilities and you have longer time for those products to come to delivery out of the facility, then it's not being, I guess, efficient in my mind.
All right. You may also have the unfortunate pleasure or experience of understanding the diamond business, which is another commodity as well. And it's no secret that we know that the supply in the diamond business is somewhat controlled. And one would argue in the free capital markets that, well, look, if we overproduce a certain material or a certain product, that will bring the prices down. So we'll just stop making so many of them. What would you say to those people to say that, hey, this is normal, it's the free markets, and private companies are free to do what they want?
Well, I would say we should highly regulate if we're going to allow the same people, the same entity to have their tentacles in the supply chain and in the demand chain, then I think you must spend more money in regulation of these companies.
After the market blew up just 4 or 5 years ago, there was a lot of talk on how derivatives markets were controlling oil prices in the stock market and all these things. And now fast forward to where we are today, regulation really hasn't gotten us much further, with the one exception that perhaps private banks aren't trading their own portfolio in their own account. Instead, they're using other names in different hedge funds to do some of that work. But what other regulation could Washington possibly put in place that they could actually realistically enforce and that the companies would actually follow?
Well, that's tough. Reporting, transparency, these things are what help the market be most efficient in its price discovery.
Are we doing all we can? Are we doing all we can to protect individual consumers here in America and throughout the world, or is there more that we really could be doing?
We could always do more. We should definitely look hard at, you know, the policies that are in place. You know, it's temptation for Goldman when they're involved on both sides to possibly, you know, and with the history of their competitiveness, I think it's something we should look into and like I say, have a high intensity of reporting on and transparency so that we are protecting the customers.
But if I were interviewing somebody from the Chicago Mercantile Exchange or somebody else in Chicago about this particular topic who was from the exchange, they would probably argue with us that there's been more transparency put in place, at least at these exchanges, than anywhere else in the world. Are they right?
Absolutely, absolutely. At the CME and at the exchanges across the commodity industry, we're working as hard to be as transparent as possible, and you know, it takes time to grind out. You know, as certain roads change and as things change, like in '03 when they made it possible for these banks and they gave them FDIC backing to do these things, then they have to take up the I guess, the challenge to highly regulate this.
Dan Burke, I want to thank you for being a good sport and letting me play devil's advocate with you. Thank you very much for better understanding what's happening in the world of commodities.